Imagine you want to pass a note across a crowded room without anyone learning both who sent it and who it was meant for. So you hand it to a stranger, who hands it to a second stranger, who hands it to a third, and only that last person sets it down on the right desk. Each of them is blindfolded to part of the path. The first one knows your face, but not the destination. The last one knows the destination, but never saw your face. No single person in that chain holds the whole story. That picture is the heart of how Tor tries to work. It is a system for moving traffic across the internet in a way that breaks the usual link between who you are and what you are doing. And like most things that sound like magic, it does something real, and it fails in ways that are quieter and more human than most people expect. What the problem actually is, normally, when you visit a site, the connection is direct in a very revealing way. Your traffic carries your address, the site sees where you came from, and anyone sitting in the middle, your network, your provider, can see both ends at once. They know it was you, and they know where you went. That single fact is the whole problem. It is not the contents of the message that gives you away most of the time. It is the simple pairing of source and destination, sitting together in one place, readable by whoever happens to be watching that spot. You can encrypt the contents all you like. You can lock the message so tightly that nobody in the middle can read a word of it. And it still does not help, because the envelope is not the issue. The issue is that the from line and the to line are written on the same envelope, in the open, where one observer can read both at a glance. Hide the words and you have hidden almost nothing. What you actually need to hide is the relationship between the two ends. The three blindfolded strangers. Thor's answer is to never let those two facts sit in the same place. Instead of going straight to the site, your traffic is bounced through three volunteer relays, run by strangers all over the world, before it reaches the destination. The first relay, the one you connect to, can see your real address, but it has no idea what site you are ultimately trying to reach. The last relay, the one that talks to the site, can see the destination, but it has no idea who you are. And the relay in the middle exists only to keep those two apart, so the first and the last never meet and never compare notes. No one in the chain can see the whole path. That separation, repeated for every connection, is the entire point. Phones sometimes ask why it has to be three. One relay is obviously useless, because that single machine would see both you and the site at once, which is the exact thing you were trying to avoid. Two is better, but it leaves the first and last relays directly touching each other, close enough to be tempted to compare notes. The middle relay is the buffer. It guarantees that the machine that knows your address and the machine that knows your destination never speak to each other directly and never share what they each half know. 3 is the smallest number that keeps the two dangerous facts a full step apart. Wrapping the message in layers. The clever part is how the path stays secret, even from the relays carrying it. Before your traffic leaves your machine, it is wrapped in 3 layers of encryption, one for each relay, like a letter sealed inside 3 nested envelopes. Each relay can open exactly 1 envelope. The first relay peels off the outer layer and finds inside only an instruction that says, "Hand this to the next relay." It cannot read what is underneath. The middle relay opens the next layer and learns only where to pass it on again. The last relay opens the final layer and finds the actual request. That is where the name comes from. Layers wrapped around layers, peeled back one at a time, like an onion. Each relay learns just enough to do its one job and nothing more. What this genuinely protects. It is worth being precise about what this buys you, because it is real. Against an observer sitting next to you, your network, the cafe Wi-Fi, the person running the local router, Tor hides where you are going. They see you talking to the Tor network, and then the trail goes cold. Against the site at the far end, it hides where you came from. The site sees a connection arriving from the last relay, somewhere else in the world, with no clear thread back to you. And against any single relay in the chain, it hides either your identity or your destination, never both. For a person trying to read or write freely under a watchful network, that gap is the difference between exposed and not. The honest limits begin. Here is where the story turns, because Tor is not a cloak of invisibility, and pretending it is gets people hurt. The same design that protects you also has seams, and the seams are exactly where most real failures happen. The first seam is the place the message leaves the network and rejoins the ordinary internet. That last relay, the one that finally talks to the site, is called the exit relay, and it sits in a uniquely sensitive spot. The exit relay can read your traffic. Think about what the exit relay actually does. It strips off the final layer of Tor's encryption and sends your request out to the real destination. At that moment, whatever you are sending is only as protected as it was to begin with. If the connection to the site is itself encrypted, the way most modern sites are, the exit relay sees that you are talking to that site but cannot read the contents. But if any part of your traffic is unencrypted, the exit relay can see it in the clear. It does not know who you are, but it can read what you sent. Anonymous and private are not the same thing, and Tor mainly gives you the first, not automatically the second. The watcher who sees both ends. The second limit is subtler and more serious. Tor is built to defeat someone watching one spot. It is not built to defeat someone powerful enough to watch many spots at once. Imagine an observer who can see the traffic entering the network near you and, at the same time, the traffic leaving the network near the site. They cannot read the layered encryption. They do not need to. They can simply watch the timing and the size of the data going in and coming out, and notice that the two patterns rise and fall together, like two clocks ticking in sync. That technique is called traffic correlation, and it does not break any of the math. It sidesteps the math entirely by matching shapes instead of reading contents. Against a watcher with that kind of reach, a large network operator, a well-resourced adversary, anonymity gets thin. This is a known limit, openly acknowledged, not a hidden flaw. The people who built Tor have always been plain about this. The design assumes an attacker who can watch parts of the network, not one who can watch all of it at once from a high enough vantage point. Defend against the local watcher, the everyday one who sits at a single choke point, and you have covered the threat that actually faces most people. The global watcher, the one who can see the whole board, was never something three relays were meant to beat, and no one serious has ever claimed otherwise. Where de-anonymization really comes from. Now the part almost nobody leads with. When people are actually traced through Tor, it is rarely because someone broke the encryption. Far more often, the person broke their own cover. They logged into an account tied to their real name. They reused a username from another part of their life. They posted a detail only they would know, or turned on a feature that leaked their true address around the network entirely. The tool was working perfectly. The human stepped outside of it. The most common way the chain of three strangers fails is that the sender, at some point, simply signs the note. This is the part the myths get exactly backwards. The weak point is almost never the onion routing. It is the ordinary, forgettable moment where identity slips through a side door the network was never covering. And the side doors are everywhere because a person is not just a stream of traffic. They have habits. They write the same way. They are awake at the same hours. They care about the same handful of subjects. Tie enough of those small tales together across enough sessions, and a careful observer can start to recognize a person without ever once seeing their address. The network can anonymize the connection. It cannot anonymize the personality on the other end of it. Why it is slow? All of this protection has a cost, and the cost is speed. Your traffic is not taking the short path to the site. It is bouncing through three volunteer machines, possibly on three different continents, and getting encrypted and decrypted at each hop. Every one of those extra steps adds delay. The relays are run by volunteers with limited capacity, carrying other people's traffic too. So pages load slowly, video struggles, and anything that wants a fast, fat connection feels like it is wading through mud. That slowness is not a bug. It is the visible price of bouncing through strangers instead of going straight there. What it is and is not good for, so it helps to be clear-eyed about the fit. Tor is genuinely good at letting someone reach information or publish it without the network around them easily logging where they went. For a journalist, a researcher, a person under censorship, that is a serious and legitimate protection. It is not good at making you untraceable while you log into your real accounts, or while a global-scale adversary watches both ends, or while you leak your own identity through habit. It raises the cost of surveillance. It does not zero it out. Treating it as a guarantee is the single most dangerous way to use it. because confidence is exactly what makes people careless. The myth worth correcting. You will hear Tor described as undetectable, foolproof, completely anonymous. None of those words are true, and believing them is how people get caught. There is no tool on the entire internet that makes you risk-free. Anyone selling that idea is selling a fantasy. What Tor actually offers is narrower and more honest. It removes the easy automatic link between you and your destination, and it forces anyone who wants that link back to spend real effort or catch a real mistake. That is valuable. It is just not the same as invisible. Anonymity is a discipline, so the real lesson sits one level above the software. The network can shuffle your traffic through three blindfolded strangers, wrap it in layers, and keep any single party from seeing the whole path. It cannot stop you from signing the note at the other end. Anonymity, in the end, is not a thing you switch on. It is a discipline you keep. The tool supports it. The tool never guarantees it. Every real failure tends to live in the gap between what the network protected and what the person, out of habit, gave away. Closing thought. So when someone tells you a piece of software made them completely anonymous, you now know the right question. Anonymous to whom? And against a watcher who can see how much. The math holds up far better than people expect. The humans holding the math almost always do not. Tor is one of the most honest tools on the internet, precisely because its makers are open about where it breaks. It protects against the watcher beside you, the site in front of you, and anyone relay along the way. It leans on you for everything else. If this is the kind of thing you find yourself thinking about, the machinery underneath the machinery, then this channel is for you. Subscribe and follow the rabbit hole, because almost every system you touch online has a hidden layer like this one, doing more and promising less than it first appears. Next time we follow the map the whole internet runs on and watch it get quietly rewritten. DGP hijacking, how the internet's map gets quietly rewritten, and why a wrong turn in that map can swallow a country's traffic without anyone typing a single password. That is the next stop down the rabbit hole.